Hello, welcome back. Tactical Tuesday with Johnny Tiger. Today's date is February 25th, 2025. Today we're going to take a look at this very nice knife, and it was a gift from my good friend Richard Maroney. Uh, Richard and I, we send each other a new knife every year. And this last exchange, he sent me a Spyderco uh, Tenacious, which is the knife we are looking at on the screen. Now, I, despite of having been collecting knives for going on to 30 odd years, I have never owned a Spyderco. I have handled a Spyderco before um, for a brief moment, but I have never owned one or spent extended time with a Spyderco. Why? You may ask. Some people may say, how can you call yourself a knife person, a knife collector, and you never owned a Spyderco? Well, because I'm poor. I don't have a lot of money, and a lot of my money go toward other things like medicine for the cat, food for myself, and yada yada yada. So to me, spending $80, $100, $300 on a pocket knife, it's crazy, right? So I have always believed that Spyderco is overpriced garbage. Now, after carrying this Spyderco Tenacious in my pocket for a month and using it on every task that I needed a knife for, I will maintain that it is overpriced. But it is definitely not a piece of garbage. Okay, this is a knife that can go and go and go and keep on going, and can chew through. I use the word chew rather than cut because on this knife, as I'm going to show in a second, this have the spider edge, which is Spyderco's own version of serration, and it's a fully serrated knife. So you tend to chew through things rather than a nice clean cut. But it will chew through darn near anything that you need it to, including your finger if you're not careful. Um, this knife is about $100 Canadian. I think in the US you can get it for anywhere between $60 to $80. And it is a pretty sizable pocket knife. It has a pocket clip that allow you to switch it up into four different carrying options. So you can carry it left-handed, right-handed, tip up, tip down. There's three screws holding the clip onto the knife, so you have to uh, unscrew that and position that yourself. On the back end of the handle, there's a lanyard hole for you to secure this to a lanyard if you want to. The closed length, which means basically the handle itself, is just over 4 inches long. To open the knife, there's a round thumb hole on the base of the blade right here. I have been told that this is round finger hole is a trademark of the Spyderco. But I could have sworn that I seen this round thumb hole on a lot of other knives. So I don't know. I don't know. Like maybe you guys who know better can comment and let me know. Is this really just a Spyderco thing? Because I honestly have seen think I've seen other knives that have the same thing that are not Spyderco. Uh, anyway, so this thumb hole allow you to get your thumb over it and push the knife open, and it will lock in place securely. The knife has a LinerLock. I'm doing this left-handed, and it's just like really awkward. So there's a piece of metal here at the forward end of the handle that you want to push to the side, and then you can close the blade. Right now, the cool thing about this one is when you're closing the blade, there's a tiny bit of guard, finger guard, uh, right here at where it's starting to fold. So if you don't get your finger out of there, this is not going to close and cut your finger, right? Now, if you're not careful and you let this slide pass and your finger is still kind of in the way, then you will cut yourself really, really bad. But at least there's a bit of an effort in putting a finger guard there to protect your finger. Fully open, the knife is 7.77 inches long with a 3.39-inch blade. The blade material is like not CR8, blah blah blah. Basically, it's pretty good steel. We'll just put it that. Like I'm not very big into like CR13, CR9, CR8, and all that. Like what steel is what. So all I know is obviously a steel is pretty decent for it to be such an expensive knife. At least I hope so. As we can see, this knife is fully serrated, and this is the spider edge, the unique serration made by Spyderco. What's unique about it? Well, as we can see, this is I gotta be very careful not to cut myself. Um, what what we can see is here, rather than being a straight across like a steak knife, these serration are like maple leaves. So every serration has three notches or three blades or three teeth to it. So it's like there's one big one and then two little one on the side, creating maple leaf, maple leaf, maple leaf, maple leaf. Yeah, I'm saying maple leaf because yeah, Canadian, you know. Even though this knife made in China. Anyway, so that is the unique part about the spider co-serration, the spider edge. The spider edge will give your knife about 25% more cutting edge. So if this knife was a straight across, ooh, almost grabbed the blade there. If this knife was a straight, uh, like plain edge, it would have, like a 3-inch cutting blade, cutting surface. But with the spider edge, you are getting more like, 3 1/4 like cutting edge. So it gives you a lot more to work with, even though it still looks the same. On the spine of the knife, there is a little divot right here, uh, right here. That's where you can rest your thumb when the knife is open. Look clumsy, I know, because I'm doing this old left-handed. I'm good with using a knife in my left hand, but I'm not good with opening a knife this way. Um, this is one downside, or maybe just like, personally speaking, one thing I don't like about this knife is there's no easy way to quick draw. Like, it doesn't have anything to let you deploy it really quick. Uh, Now, you could get this knife with the Emerson style uh, a quick opening mechanism, which is like a hook that they cut into the spine of the knife that catches on your pocket when you draw the knife out and it will deploy the knife. But to get that put in, it's like another $100, and yeah, it's not worth it. Honestly, if you guys want to, I'm going to show you guys very quick. I'm going to go grab my Cutco pocket knife because it is a good comparison uh, against this knife. So now on the top we have the Spyderco Tenacious, on the bottom is the Cutco pocket knife. which is like my go-to EDC for many many years. Now the Cutco, despite being made in the U.S. and the Spyderco made in China, the Cutco is actually cheaper by about $20. Well, actually more like $30 because it was, I believe, $65 Canadian, $69 Canadian, something like that. And it has the same kind of finger hole design. And what I did here is I put a piece of zip tie around the finger hole, and the zip tie poke out like this. So when you draw this knife out of your pocket, the zip tie will catch on your pocket and open the knife like that. Right? I'm just simulate it with my finger. Now, why do I say that these guys are very similar? Because if we open them both up, Spyderco on the top, Cutco on the bottom, we can see that both of these have very aggressive serration all the way through. The Cutco knife is also known for its very unique, very strong serration. Uh, it's not quite as fancy as a spider edge. It doesn't have the like a maple leaf kind of pattern to it, but it is also this. It's also a knife that can chew through darn near anything. I have used it to carve wood, to pry open things, to cut plastic and ropes and stuff like that. And it just came through every time, right? It's side by side. We can see that this is a bit, well, okay, quite a bit smaller. Handle is almost the same size, but blade wise, you definitely get more blade for the with the Spyderco. So I guess for that larger blade profile, $30 or $40 more is justified. Another thing I will point out is that the Cutco knife, I put it away already, but the Cutco knife, uh, the closing mechanism is the lock back, um, the spine lock mechanism, which means, and this is why I usually hate spine lock knife, you can't close it one-handed. Okay, that is a big comparison point between the Cutco pocket knife and the Spyderco Tenacious. The Spyderco Tenacious has a frame lock, which means even with my more clumsy left hand, I can close this knife one-handed, no problem, right? So that is something to keep in mind when you compare these two knives. Both of them are serrated. Both of them have really good cutting power. Both of them are kind of expensive, but one is bigger and one actually can close one-handed. Um, What else can I tell you about this knife? Well, I think we should just like move on to the cutting test because that's where uh the this knife really shine. It's when it's cutting. Like honestly, as far as knives go, this is not a good looking knife, right? This is despite of being a $100 knife, it looks like, well, it looks like a utility knife. Like it doesn't have a wicked point or hook point. It doesn't have a sweep down sword like point and the hilt. There's no fancy feature to it. It's just like a very standard pocket knife looking thing. Like honestly, if someone was to hand this to me and ask me, what do you think this is? Like how much do you think this is? If I didn't work with it for a while and get to know it, just going by the look and feel alone, I would probably say just some random like cheap ass $15 pocket knife. Feels okay, but looks kind of boring. That it's really like as far as all the knives I have handled and collected, this Spyderco is not. It's not going to win any kind of beauty pageant or like special design pageant, but it's one of those knives that it's all in the function. Okay, and let's take a look at the cutting part of our video. All right, here we have it. Okay, let me quickly mention this. The one thing I do really love about the Spyderco here is I'm going to use my sleeve. Just pretend this is a pocket. When you clip this in your pocket, it sits really deep. So some pocket knives they poke out a lot and get snagged on things, and this you can barely see it. Like it sits very comfortably when you clip it onto your pocket, and it sits very deep. Just like barely a tiny bit of the knife poking out, so enough for you to grab it. But yeah, it's very unobtrusive. This is another good thing about this knife. Now we have two very tough materials here, and we are not going to do cardboard today because this knife, to use this knife on cardboard is well, it's insulting this knife. Like this knife goes through cardboard like the cardboard is paper. So we have this plastic front from an action figure box, of course. And this is not one of the more flimsy ones. This is like, okay, this is like the really tough. Oh, oh, there's no way. Like I can't even rip this. This is like really tough stuff. A lot of regular knife tend to struggle with this. They'll cut, but uh, you'll have to really work at it. Now let's see how our Spyderco do this. Now the one thing I don't like about the serration is that you have to saw for it to really work. It's not going to cut any other way. And yeah, okay, well, it's struggling a little bit with this plastic. Part of the reason is because I'm holding it in the air, and it's just like not very good stable for cutting. Okay, now that I anchor this a little bit against my chest, right? Took that slice off, no problem. Yeah, so see, once I adjust my grip and actually get a hold of this, it slices really, really nice. Yeah, like I said, the problem with this knife is that you're going to have to saw it. You're not going to pull it through. You can't just set it against the surface and then push like some of the plain edge knife, right? But once you find the groove, once you find what you're working with, like the angle that you're working with, it's cut pretty good. See? Okay, so now we got some scrap. Now we're going to move to an even tougher material. This plastic cord. Okay, this comes usually on luggage to secure things like big boxes, tie them to like. I got this in the freight when I had something arrive in the freight, and there were like these plastic bindings all over, and it's like so hard to cut. Like even some of my best knives were struggling with this. Right? Spyderco or anything with this kind of serration is perfect for cords like that. Okay? That's one. That's two. And that's three. So in this case, there's hardly any sawing back and forth needed. Basically, just make sure you set teeth of the serration in and just give it a nice jerk, and it will go right through. Why did I just do that? I just closed this knife two-handed. Uh, you totally don't need to do that, right? You just like close it like that. Now with the right hand, it's open really fast because I can flick this knife the regular way, like that. The thumb hole system is still not my favorite, but uh, it is not as slow and clumsy as it looked when I was using my left hand. So that's more like an operator thing than the knife problem. In the end, as usual, we are going to look at, is this a good utility knife? Is this a good survival knife? And is this a good fighting knife? Is this a good utility knife? Hell yes. Okay. I have carried this for a month. I used it for every task I needed for a knife for, and it came through every single time. There were a couple of times when I just like cuss up a storm because it's serrated, so it doesn't cut very clean. But it has done everything I asked it to do, and it feels great in hand, feels great in the pocket. Carrying it around every day, it's not too heavy, it's not in the way. So this is a really good utility knife. If it was combo edged, I would like it even better because there are some tasks where the serration is just like too much. Um, is it a good survival knife? Maybe as a backup survival knife. Like I have said this before, and I'll say it again. If you want a survival knife, you need a knife that is in one piece, not a knife that is jointed and got different pieces that can come apart, screws that going to rust and fall out, and things going to get loose. Okay, that's not. You don't want that for a survival knife. So maybe I can see this being like part of your survival kit as a secondary knife, a backup knife. It would definitely be good for that, but uh, you do not you do not want to trust your life on this. It's not the kind of knife that can survive a beating in the outdoors and being in wet and bad condition. Is it a good self-defense or fighting knife? Well, again, I'm going to say no because it doesn't open really quick. You have to try to work with that thumb hole. It lacks a proper hand guard. It doesn't have a striking feature at the tail end, not like a skull breaker or glass breaker. It lacks that. Um, it does have a very secure grip, but it's this knife profile, this leaf-shaped knife profile, it's really meant for doing everyday chore rather than for like thrusting and stabbing and find like fighting kind of stuff. Now, it's a big knife, so is it better than nothing? Well, yeah, like if I'm caught in a dark alley, if I'm caught in a dark alley by some ruffians, and it's come down to if I use my hands or if I pull out a Spyderco Tenacious, obviously the Spyderco Tenacious is going to be preferred. But if it comes down to Spyderco Tenacious versus, well, let's say a folding karambit, then a folding karambit is way more uh, suitable for conflict and combat and stuff like that. But most of us never get into a knife fight. That's a good thing. So if you carry a knife, I think most of us will carry a knife because of utility use. You want to cut cardboard boxes and tapes and stuff like that. And for that reason, I would say the Spyderco is good. It's great utility knife. Thank you for joining me at this look at the Spyderco Tenacious, and it's good to be back. I will be back again tomorrow for some Wisdom Wednesday. For now, have a good night.